Hi, ladies. Welcome to the October Client Spotlight with the amazing superwoman that is Katie Rose. Welcome, lovely lady.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, okay, yes, we are officially live now. Good. I jumped on and started a Facebook Live, and I was like, I started talking and wasn't live yet. So I do just like to check that that is all in place. So welcome, ladies, to this month. As I said, it's the October Client Spotlight. Katie has been a client of mine for a year, firstly in groups. She started with me in groups. And then this year she started working with me one-on-one. And she's amazing to work with as a healer and having her as a client, because she's someone who will like take the recording and then listen to it to 4 days consecutively after, and she'll be like, oh, that's healed, that's gone, and she'll just like manifest like that. She like ingrains it in her cells and her system. So she's like a dream client. She is also an Ayurvedic and yoga teacher, and she's a published author of heaps and heaps and heaps of books, including a very recent book called Mindful Living. She is the mother of 4 boys. She lives in Sydney and she lives a very busy life. She runs a very successful business. And so she has a lot of really practical tips and experience for living, life as a busy woman, but making sure you have that practical self-care ritual, routine, whatever you want to call it, in place. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. I'd love to kick off with, even though I do the energetic work, I love practical stuff. I'm always like, let's match up, let's marry up the practical with the energetic. So Katie, tell me, how do we implement practices to support us amongst this world that is crazy, to support us in our family life, our business, our work, our relationships? How do we implement that practice? But then more importantly, how do we commit to it? How do we stick to it?
It's the $1 million question. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me to be part of this. It's really always lovely to speak with you and to share in this group, which I'm an active member of. I just to talk briefly about the lovely words you said about me as your client. I also feel like it's because you're actually such a powerful guide and support in my work, my personal life and my professional life, both equally. So, they always say that you're a good student if you have a good teacher. So I feel like we have a good synergy.
We do.
Yeah. So practical application, I feel like one of the biggest challenges that we're dealing with in this day and age, in this contemporary time that we live, and particularly since the advent of the pandemic, so the last sort of 18 months to 2 years, is what I call digital clutter. We talk a lot about decluttering and everyone's kind of on the Marie Kondo bandwagon, and I've certainly been doing some decluttering while we've been in lockdown in Sydney, clearing some physical space. But actually what really is required for us to commit to a spiritual practice of any kind is to clear some energetic space and some mental space. And I feel that many of us, what we tend towards doing, and it's sort of an addictive pattern, when we have some downtime or we have a quiet moment, we're used to being overstimulated mentally. And so we seek more stimulation. So the classic is, I've got 10 minutes to myself, and I use that 10 minutes to have a quick scroll on Instagram or have a look what's happening on Facebook, rather than using that time to actually engage with being a little bit quieter and sort of even do some kind of spiritual practice. So one of the first tips that I have is to think about decluttering, not just in the sense of decluttering yourself, your physical environment, but also to think about decluttering as a practice of decluttering what's happening for you mentally, and choosing where you allow mental stimulation in and where you actually intentionally have quiet time. So that's the first piece. The second piece is, once you've created that space, choosing 1 or 2 practices and sticking with them. So I call these trusted practices. And what your trusted practices are will be different for each person. So for me, my main trusted practice is japa meditation. I do meditation using mantra and using the beads, the mala beads, but that doesn't have to be yours. It could be lighting a candle and doing 5 minutes of journaling every day. It could be something I know Sarah's a big advocate of, sitting in silence for 10 minutes every day. The point is that you have one or two things that are non-negotiables, and no matter what, you do them. They're your trusted practices. Where we get into difficulty is where we bite off more than we can chew, and we think that we're going to do an hour practice, or we're going to completely reframe our entire mornings and get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do an elaborate set of rituals and make a green smoothie. And, you know, it's too much, and we fall off the wagon very quickly. So 10 minutes, start with 10 minutes, make a commitment, choose one thing and stick with it. And then incrementally you can build on that, and you can add other rituals or other lifestyle changes. But far, far better to start small and have it be sustained than to take on a massive big life transformation, last a week, and then fall off the wagon and kind of let it all slip to the wayside.
Yeah, I love that. So I love finding those small 10-minute blocks in your life, because then it's not like something extra you have to add. So one thing, a guy called Matthew Hussey, he's a dating expert. He's probably like the #1 dating expert in the world. And, you know, he talks a lot about, well, how do you meet someone? And if your life's so busy and full, well, I don't have time to date. And he says, you don't need to find time to date. You just need to talk to the person in the coffee line in front of you. There are opportunities everywhere to meet people, right? It's the same. That's what I instantly thought of when you said that. It's like we actually already have that space, but we're just choosing to use it in a way that doesn't necessarily enhance our life, rather than choosing to use that 10 minutes or that 5 minutes in a way that does enhance. What I love about what you said as well, like the trusted practices, those non-negotiables, but whatever it is for you. So there's no one single path to the temple. It's like, well, what works for you? We get to build our business in a way that works for us. We get to live a life in a way that works for us. We can do that with our spiritual practice, create a spiritual practice in the way that works for you.
And
it is so true.
I'd add to that, Sarah, choose something that you enjoy. You know, far too many women set themselves up. It's almost like we've got this sort of conditioning that we have to do it the hard way, you know? So it's like, oh, I hate running, but I'm going to go for a run every day because I feel I should. Or, you know, I really don't enjoy Pilates, but I've signed up for an 8-week course because I know it will be good for my core. It's like, no, choose a thing that actually lights you up. Like, I love to meditate. Give me a free half an hour, honestly, and I'll either have a nap or I'll do meditation practice. That's what I'm naturally drawn to. So yes, I do discipline myself to do physical practice, and I do discipline myself in other ways. But the non-negotiable, the thing I don't ever change or leave to the side, is actually something I enjoy, because it's 1,000 times easier to do it if it actually lights you up. We don't always have to choose the sort of self-flagellating hardest option. You know, we can benefit from it's the same with the ways that we make our money. I mean, I know you talk a lot about this in terms of wealth generation. It took me so many years to realize I don't have to earn my money in the hardest way. I don't have to slog for it. I can actually earn my money in my zone of genius, doing something I love joyfully, that I'm good at. And what a wonderful thing. Your spiritual practice is the same. Let it light you up. Don't choose the hard thing that is the most difficult.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Okay, great. So let's talk about, so you're an Ayurvedic teacher. Firstly, can you just give us top level, what is Ayurvedic and what do you mean by personal constitution for anyone who's not familiar?
Yeah, so Ayurveda is what we call the sister science to yoga. So Ayurveda and yoga kind of grew up together. Ayurveda is the traditional indigenous healthcare system of India. So it's a little bit like what traditional Chinese medicine is to China, Ayurveda is to India. And according to Aveda, we each of us have a unique constitutional type. So we have our own particular blueprint or framework, and that constitutional type is physical. It manifests in terms of how you look and your physical appearance, but it's also your energetic body, your mind, and your feelings and emotions. So it covers 4 different, what in Sanskrit are called the koshas, 4 different areas of the self: physical, energy, mental, emotional. And your constitution will, to a very large extent, dictate how you show up in the world in each of those 4 areas.
So this is the Pitta, Kapha, Vata?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. So what if someone doesn't know what I know I'm a Pitta.
Yeah.
So, but there's an online test you can do to find out what your constitution
I have one.
is.
I mean, there's lots of them. I have one on my website. The one that's on my website focuses a lot on the emotional and mental, which is sort of my area of interest. A lot of Ayurveda teachers focus very much on the physical, like, oh, you've got brown eyes, you've got olive skin, you tend towards weight gain, you must be a kapha. I think that's a fairly basic lens through which to look at Ayurveda. So my work is primarily about looking at the emotional and energetic imprint, and what it does is it will teach you. So once you know what your constitution is, you learn how you show up in relationships, you learn how you show up as a parent, how you show up as a partner, as a colleague, what your strengths are, what your potential areas of challenge will be, and also how you'll interact with another person, because it depending on what your constitution is and the person that you're in dialogue or in relationship with, you'll either find that you really mesh and connect and there's an ease and a flow, or there can be some challenges that we can then kind of focus on overcoming. But yeah, there's plenty of online quizzes, and there's one on my website that people we can put it in the notes and people can go.
Yeah, pop it in the comment section below. I'd be interested to do that, because any that I've done have been based on my physical. So I'd be really interested to do that myself. So Katie will drop that in the comment section after this talk. And then, because right now we're going to start talking about how do you find an Ayurvedic self-care strategy that works for you and your constitution. So it would help to know what your constitution is.
Yeah.
So how do we do that?
Yeah. So let's keep it really, really simple. Even if you don't know what your constitution is, the constitutions relate to the elements. So again, very similar to traditional Chinese medicine. Essentially, the 3 types are fire, which is pitta, air, which is vata, and then a combination of water and earth, which is kapha. So I just think of those in terms of energetic qualities. You don't even need to know your constitution. You can keep it super simple. When you are feeling really inflamed and heated and overwrought and fiery, angry, impatient, that means your pitta is elevated. When you're feeling very floaty and kind of away with the fairies, not grounded, a little bit like in a fantasy world, a little bit all over the place, maybe, that's the air element. That means your vata is exacerbated. When you're feeling very sedentary and stuck and low energy, and it may be even a little bit lazy and not motivated, that's the earth water. So that's the kapha. So when we just start to notice the qualities of our energy as we move through the day or move through the week, then we can kind of work to bring them back into balance. So, you know, a very simple example, let's say you go and spend the day at the beach on a really hot day, and you get a little bit of sunburn and you get a lot of sun exposure. And you come home, probably naturally what you're going to do is drink a cold glass of water, have a cool shower, change your clothing, maybe pop a fan on. So you balance out this extremity of I'm overheating with I need to cool down. And where Ayurveda for me can be really interesting is when we do that in the emotional and the feeling realm. So we think about, where am I moving out of balance? Where am I constantly? So for example, I could give you an example from my own life. You know, when I'm getting my kids ready in the morning, that's often a time for me when my impatience is really high. Like because I have a lot of fire in my sign anyway, and I'm all about getting stuff done quickly and efficiently, you know, I can just become really impatient. So what Ayurveda has helped me to do is to look at that, to notice there's a pattern here. I'm always impatient. I'm always frustrated at this particular time of day, and then balance it out. How can I balance it? By getting up a little bit earlier, by making sure I'm super organized, by giving the kids lots of extra warnings so they know what's coming up next, and I'm not just suddenly telling them it's time to leave and pushing them out the door. we create strategy around a knowing of ourselves. And so the strategy is matched to whatever we're noticing is evolving and unfolding in our lives. And it can just be so much more effective as a result.
Okay, and so what would be an example? So you've given an example for Pitta. What would be an example for, say, Kapha? If you're feeling a bit sluggish, a bit unmotivated, how would you, what would be a practice?
Kapha's shadow is apathy and lack of action, and also staying stuck. That's the sort of downside of Kapha. The bright side of Kapha is loyalty and commitment. Kaphas are really good at seeing things through. They have sticking power and they're really loyal. So what we try to do is we amplify the positive quality, but we also work to counteract the not so positive. So for example, with Kaphas, regular physical exercise is really important. They need to get up off the sofa and move their bodies around. That's critical. Making sure they don't overeat is another one for Kaphas. And consciously pushing themselves a little bit out of their comfort zone. That's also really important, because Kaphas will tend to be the people that always like to go to the same cafe, always order the same thing, always hang out with the same people. They really like their feeling of comfort and their zone of safety. And so it's helpful for Kaphas to, in a controlled and sensible way, push themselves out of that a little bit and broaden their horizons. And then we've got Vata, the last one.
So, yep.
Yeah, so Vata is said to be the most spiritual of the three, because Vata are really good at visualizing and they spend a lot of time out here. They're often not very embodied, whereas the Kaphas are like super grounded because they're earth. They're really embodied. The Vatas are the dreamers and the imaginers and the creatives, often actually the geniuses, because they're downloading a lot of stuff from, you know, art, words, music. It's all kind of coming through them, which is wonderful. So Vatas, it's really good to cultivate that, to know that they're very creative and allow time and space. I'm sure a lot of healers would be Vata too, because it's that sort of becoming a channel. The downside is it can be really overwhelming. So a lot of Vatas, I mean, literally in its worst manifestation, Vata can feel like it's going crazy because there's just too much coming in. It's sort of like not being able to manage the sensory overload that's self-created. So Vatas need to be very careful about how much stimulation they allow in. Like we were talking about this earlier, Sarah, about not watching the news every day because it's just too much. Vatas need to really watch what they consume in terms of media. They'll be the ones that, you know, watch a scary movie before bed and then can't sleep for a week because their imaginations just kind of run away with them.
Yeah.
So careful control about what's allowed into the sense gates is really important for Vata. And also Vatas are sensitive. They're really sensitive. So Pittas and Kaphas can be a little bit more robust emotionally. Vatas are the empaths and the sensitive communicators. So we just need to be a little bit more gentle and kind when we're communicating with Vatas. And likewise, as a Vata, try not to take everything too personally.
So as a self-care practice for a Vata, it would be not spending as much time on social media, not watching the news, or not listening to true crime podcasts or whatever, right?
Exactly.
So you've spoken about the weaknesses of the Pitta. What are the strengths of the Pitta? I'm interested because I'm primarily a Pitta.
Pitta strengths are, look, Pittas are often seen as the most successful in our culture because they're very ambitious and they're very driven and they're really good at getting stuff done. So Pittas are, it's fire, you know, it's like pizzazz, it's energy. They're great leaders. They're really good at bringing communities together. It's no surprise that a lot of people that do the type of work we do are Pittas. The trouble is if Pitta is too extreme, it will lead to burnout because fire burns itself out eventually, right? If you don't keep fueling the fire, it'll just burn to ashes. So we have to be gentle and slowly nurture the fire and fan the flames and give it fuel and not just go to the point of burnout. But Pitta, has so many strengths in the area of productivity and accomplishment. And another really lovely quality of Pitta that's really worth celebrating is they cut through bullshit. So Pittas are the ones that call a spade, name the elephant in the room. I mean, the number of times in my life I've gotten into trouble as a Pitta for saying the thing that everyone else is thinking. But I see that as a gift now in my work, in the work that we're doing. It's like we're actually able to name the shadows, speak about them, support ourselves and others in being truth seekers. And that's actually a very beautiful thing if it's channeled in the right way.
And you can also have a makeup of you usually have one, don't you? And then you have a sort of secondary.
Yeah, we all have, like if you imagine a pie chart, which is like 100%, we all have all three. It just might be different amounts. So I'm very Pitta dominant. I'm 70% Pitta and then 20% Vata, only 10% Kapha in me. Some people are more double, like they've got quite an equal amount of two and not very much of one. And some very rare people are what's called tridoshic. Tridoshic means a fairly equal balance of all three, which basically means you're heading towards enlightenment. The people who are tridoshic are very balanced. They're, you know, they've come in naturally already, just very, very steady, stable. We all know people like that, very balanced, steady people.
Yeah, okay. Well, I've learned that. I remember that
we're just losing you a little bit, Sarah. I'm only catching every other word. I think the internet's not the best. Might just give it a second. I don't know if you want to pop a question in the chat and I can answer it from the chat. Perhaps your internet lag will catch up. I know that Sarah's having some internet problems today, so we might just be losing her for a second while she reconnects. She lives in a very beautiful but slightly remote part of the world, so her internet's not always the best. I think that one of the things that we were going to go on to talk about, oh, she's back. Let's see. There you are.
I'm muted. Have you got me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm hotspotting off my phone. My internet's been playing up all day. So I'm sorry about that, ladies. Sorry to leave you in the lurch there, Katie. Okay, so let's move into the third and final thing that we were going to talk about today, which is the top time management tips connected to Ayurveda, connected to your dosha.
Yeah. Actually, this one transcends the doshas, so it's good for everyone. It's just general sort of Ayurveda time management tips, and I have found these so useful. I wanted to include these just because they've made such a profound difference in my life. And there's really just two of them that I want to mention today. They're universal, so they're good for all of the doshas. And, you know, Ayurveda has a lot to say about our daily rhythms and routines. It's all about what we call sadhana, which means your daily practices. But these two, for me, are like the golden kind of duo. If you nail these two, it'll make a profound difference to your health and wellness overall. So the first one is, in Ayurveda, we eat our largest meal of the day at lunchtime. So that's a big shift for a lot of people. A lot of us are focused on having a big dinner, often quite late, and then going to bed with sluggish digestion and wondering why we're experiencing all kinds of bowel and gut issues and also weight gain. So Ayurveda says, eat your largest meal in the middle of the day. It will really support your metabolism and your overall health and wellness, your digestion, and not just your physical digestion, but also your emotional digestion, your capacity to digest on all levels. I know for myself, when I turned 40, I'm 43 now. When I turned 40, I noticed a radical slowing in my metabolism. I've always been slim, and because I'm Pitta, it's part of Pitta constitution that you can eat a lot and you have high metabolism and you just burn it off. So my whole life I've been pretty slim, and I've always just enjoyed eating, honestly, whatever I feel like. I mean, I eat well, but I've never had to watch my weight or my diet. when I turned 40, my metabolism really slowed down. And suddenly I noticed I was eating less, but much more prone to weight gain. And I hadn't really changed my lifestyle much, so it sort of confused me. But when I switched to biggest meal at lunchtime, my weight and my metabolism stabilized out straight away. It made a huge difference. So that's one suggestion. The other one is about bedtime. This is never a popular one, but it really does make a huge difference. So Ayurveda says, ideally we are in bed, and ideally we're starting to head towards sleep by 10 p.m. So if you can have lights out before 10, what happens is there's an energetic shift after 10 p.m. in terms of the Ayurvedic daily cycle. And we're very, very likely after 10 p.m. to get a second wind. So I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but if you push past that 10 p.m. window, all of a sudden you're binge watching another 3 episodes on Netflix, or you've, started sending emails out. So, you've just got this another wind of energy that you can't then fall asleep easily. So if we catch ourselves before 10, the other advantage of that is at the other side, we wake up earlier, fresher, and we can make the most of the morning hours rather than waking up later and feeling sluggish. So those 2 tips: biggest meal of the day, lunchtime, in bed, lights out by 10 p.m. If you can tweak your daily habits and routines to play with those and see what impact they have, I know in my own life they've had a profound difference.
The bedtime ones are easy for me. I'm such a early bird, go to bed early. That one is easy. But I do notice if I'm I'm tired at 9, I'll just watch it, and then I do push it. Then I'm 11:30, can't sleep. It's so true, and I never really kind of equated it to that. What I also know, what I have read, is that those 2 hours between 10 and midnight are worth double sleep.
Best quality. So that's the time when we get a really strong regenerative sleep. And Ayurvedic wisdom, that wisdom is in Charaka Samhita, which is one of the scriptures that we rely on as Ayurveda teachers. It's thousands of years old, and yet modern science is proving exactly the same thing. I get super excited when there's an alignment between what the ancients know and have taught us in the ancient scriptures and what modern contemporary psychology and science is demonstrating. And that's what a perfect example of that. If we get into bed and sleeping before 10, we get the really good quality sleep before midnight. I love that too. I love that science is when you can prove the spirituality and that wisdom through science. It's so, I love that. That's why I love Dr. Joe Dispenza so much, because he does all the testing in the Heart Mass Institute, because it's like science and spirituality. It's like my dream come true. Okay, so largest meal, I just want to quickly touch on this. What I notice, if I have a really heavy lunch, I get really tired in the afternoon. I just want to go and have a sleep, right? Yeah. So when we talk about the largest meal, that's not like a pasta. Or it just means you eat your most nutrient dense food at that time. So it doesn't even have to be not a heavy meal. In fact, Ayurveda says you should never eat more than what you can hold in your hand in one serving. The scoop of the hand is called Anjali, and ideally the Anjali, the scoop of the hand, reflects the size of the stomach. So you shouldn't eat more than what you can hold in your hand in one given meal. It's more that you get your most dense nutrient offering in that time. And certainly that you don't skip lunch and then eat a really heavy dinner. That would be like the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And I'll just say something too about the siesta, the afternoon sleep. See, in our natural circadian rhythms, we're meant to have a siesta. We're meant to eat lunch and have an afternoon rest. Not necessarily a sleep, although, a nap's great. But if you look at almost every indigenous culture in the world, there is siesta time after lunch. It's very, very much our Western culture that we just keep pushing through, which, let's face it, is very much part of our culture in general. But if you look at, South American, Mediterranean, Chinese, Middle Eastern, they all have a siesta after lunch. It's part of the culture. And I think there's a reason for that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember when I was living in France, and it would be like you couldn't get anything done between 1 and 3. It's like really frustrating sometimes. You're like, but where, like, why can't I go to the bank?
Yeah, post office is shut, everyone's
yeah, everything's shut.
And then it's open till 6 or 7 at night because it's just a different rhythm.
Yeah, and then they eat dinner at 9.
Yeah,
which is so it was really interesting. And I mean, I think there's been lots of studies done on that and longevity as well, the longevity of life. So awesome. I have definitely learned a lot today. Is there anything you want to add before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just re-emphasize, what I notice again and again when people start jumping into the world of Ayurveda is it's really easy to get overwhelmed because it does come with a lot of rules and regulations and it can feel quite prescriptive. So I just always want to emphasize, especially for people who are new to this, just choose one thing, change your meal time or prioritize an early bedtime, or start one small new exercise regime, one thing, and trial it for a while and see if it works for you. Try not to get overwhelmed and try to do everything all at once, because I've seen time and time again that very rarely works.
Yeah, I love that. Just it's those like kind of like little incremental changes, isn't it? And so one thing I like, and this is just an example, I like my house to be tidy. I work from home. It's really important to me that my space is tidy. But because I get really tired at night, like I'm like, I love to be asleep by 10 o'clock. That's not a problem. But what I was doing is I'd be so tired by the time I got to bed, take my clothes off. And then at the end of the week, my spare room with a single bed would have like a pile of clothes on it. So I just implement, and then I'd feel overwhelmed by it. It's like, oh gosh, now I've got to sort all this out, right? And it was the only kind of area in my house that felt kind of overwhelming. So I just decided at the end of the night, I'm just going to take 2 minutes and I'm just going to fold my clothes. I'm going to put them on the stool and then I can deal with that tomorrow. And it was just like these little things that we just incrementally put in, and then we stick to it. Yeah. Because it's just small and it takes us 2 minutes or 10 minutes or 5 minutes, or I'm just gonna go to bed. I'm just gonna have my big, dinner, my big meal at lunchtime. And then as we add those little incremental changes over the course of 12 months, 24 months, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years, those little changes add up. It doesn't have to be this all of a sudden big, wow, I'm changing my whole life and I'm doing this and I'm going to bike for an hour every day and then I'm going to go to Pilates and then I'm going to meditate for 2 hours. It doesn't need to be that. And then we are going to stay on the wagon rather than fall off it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the small incremental changes. There's a really great book about that I read recently called Atomic Habits. I can't remember who it was by, but it came out fairly recently, like in the last year or so. I definitely recommend that, Atomic Habits. It's all about this idea of the micro incremental change that then leads to bigger changes. I mean, it applies to so many things. I was listening to a podcast yesterday where they were saying over a 30-year mortgage, if you pay something like I can't remember the exact numbers, but $150 a week more over a 40-year mortgage, and you'll save $100,000. Yes. It's like it's saving works like this, compound interest works like this, so many things work like this, that it's the compound interest of our lives and our health. Far more gain in small daily actions than, I always say to people, rather than doing one big, huge detox every year where you give up everything and you fast for 2 weeks, why not just drink 1 cup of coffee less every day, or 1 glass of wine, a couple of glasses of wine less every week? That will be far better for you than the sort of pendulum swing.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So let's talk about very quickly if people are interested in how can they work with you. I know you have an amazing course called the Ayurveda Goddess. So can you quickly tell us about that and how can people get in contact with you about that?
So the best way is through my website, which is bhaktirose.com.au, and I'll put it in the notes. If you do the quiz, you'll automatically go to the website, so you'll see it anyway. And then I run a program, as you said, Ayurveda Goddess, which runs as an evergreen program. It means you can, begin it at any time. I have a beautiful group of women that have been through that program. Nearly 200 women now have done that program with me. It runs entirely online. There is a live component, so we meet at least once a month, sometimes more often when I'm running live rounds. And it's really a journey through all of the things that we've been talking about today, with very much a focus on women's work and also a focus on the emotional and feeling realm as opposed to the physical. We definitely look at diet and we look at the physical, but I'm really interested in the energetic and the emotional as well.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to go and do your quiz, because I'm quite interested to see if I would be changed, if I'd actually be quite different, mate, potentially looking at the energetic and the emotional side rather than just the physical makeup. So you are offering 20% discount on that for the next 48 hours. So can you just give us a few price points around that?
Yep. The training, if you pay for it outright, is $850. If you do it over a payment plan, it's slightly more expensive, but obviously spread out over 6 months. The discount code, I can't remember what I said, Sarah. Was it Goddess20?
Let's put it in the comments section below.
There's a code which is eluding me now. But that'll give you 20% off any of the options, payment plan or paying in full.
Okay, great. So there's a couple of options today. You've got a free option, you've got a payment plan, and you've got a pay in full. If you're interested in doing further work with this, I know your prices are going up next year. So if this is something that you are interested in doing, me and Katie have just done an entire session on this. So definitely now is the time. Basically, now is the time to get in. Yeah.
And I'm also, one of the things I am doing, and Sarah's been supporting me in this, is I'm moving away from giving discounts. So I'm giving a discount to this group, but the prices will be going up, and I will be discontinuing discounting. So
we did that work. We did that work a while ago. I forgot we did that discounting work. Yay. Okay, great. So thank you so much, ladies, for joining us today. If you haven't signed up for the masterclass, do that now. I am about to send out a bonus tonight for anyone who has signed up early bird to the masterclass. I will put that link below as well. So you will get an extra special bonus for being an early worm. I love an early bird. An early bird gets the early worm. So you will get that in your inbox tonight if you sign up this afternoon. Katie, always a pleasure. Thank you so much, ladies. Have an amazing afternoon.
Thanks. Ciao. Thanks, everyone.